Hey guys, what's going on? In this box is the world's first ever versatile magnetic variable ND filters. If you're serious about leveling up your video and your photo game, you're going to need what's in this pouch. Essentially, these are variable NDs, but they're a world's first, and I'm going to get into all of that. But before we do anything, I would like for you guys to understand what an ND filter is and a variable ND. This isn't going to take forever, this is only going to take a couple of seconds. An ND filter, think of them like sunglasses for your camera. They reduce the amount of light that comes in, which means you can dial the shutter speed way down. You can get these long exposure shots like this waterfall here, and you get that magic streel effect. Or you can get that cinematic motion blur. You can get that motion blur because you can drop the shutter speed to 1/50. That's it. Now, what is a variable ND filter, I hear you ask? Anybody? Okay, you, good. So ND filters come in different levels essentially. So the higher the number, the more stops of light it's going to block out of the camera. So you could have a 2-stop ND filter, you could have ND9, ND6, and so on and so forth. But a variable ND filter puts a couple of these together, and then you can twist them. And what Freewell have done here is made the whole thing magnetic. So you can just pop on and pop off whatever you need for whatever you're doing. Now let's get into these and what you get. And there's some serious bang for buck inside here. But is it all worth it? We're going to find that out throughout the course of this video, so please stick with me. What you get from Freewell is a 2 to 5 stop ND filter, a 6 to 9 stop, a circular polarizing filter, which basically is useful for getting rid of reflections on water and glass like windows. You've got an ND32 filter in there as well. And then you've got a mist filter as well. Now, like, what's a mist filter? Mist filters are really expensive, and they give your images that little bit more of a cinematic vibe. They really kind of soften out and slightly blur the highlights. These filters, there's 18 layers. They're multi-coated, they're waterproof, dustproof, oilproof, and they're scratch resistant as well. And they're available in multiple sizes from 58 mils right up to 95 millimeters. And if none of those suit you, of course, you can use the step-up rings as well to modify to whatever lens that you've got. So before we get into the leveling up side of things here for your video and photography, how does this actually work because it's magnetic? Now, it couldn't be easier. Genuinely, it couldn't be. First step is that you screw on the base or the mount onto your actual lens. In this case here, it's a Sigma 16mm lens, which is my go-to lens for nearly everything these days on the Sony a6600. So you screw that on. Then you line up the base that you want. Really easy, line it up, pop it in, magnetized, done. And then the next step is to put on whatever you want. So is it the 2 to 5 stop? Is it the 6 to 9? Is it the polarizing filter? And essentially you just line up the letter A with the letter A on the actual mount itself. And that's it. And then twist for whatever level of ND you want. And you can see which one you're at really easily. Now, when it comes to leveling up your game, this is what you really need to do, because if you look at any of the huge creators out there or any movie, they're all using ND filters of some capacity because that's how you get motion blur. So for example, in this shot here, let's just say this 1/50 sequence, it's all blown out because 1/50 is making the camera too bright. But once I pop on one of the ND filters, boom, it is perfect. Look at that, amazing. So that's the difference it actually makes. So you can see the before and the after, and all that is 1/50 4K 24 video. That's the variable ND side of things, or VND. But what about the mist filter? Now, there's a ton of creators actually use these mist filters, and they never tell you that they're using them, but you're like going, how do they? Why doesn't my videos look like that? So this is one of the keys. Again, it's all done magnetically. Pop out the base filter, pop in this one, boom. And then of course you can use the variable NDs on top of that as well, which gives you umpteenth options. Umpteenth, is that a word? With so much in one package, I know you're probably going, look, these things must be like cheap and nasty junk. No, they're not. Because these things feel premium. They feel very solid in the actual hand themselves. They seem to be well constructed, right down to the magnetic lens cap, which absolutely attaches to the base like glue. All of these filters have a very good weight, and as I said, they do feel solid and they do feel very premium, even down to the case, which is like this leather case. It's very hard. It's, you know, this isn't going to explode or smash. So this is going to take some abuse when you've got a lot of glass in here like this. You need a case like this. But you're kind of thinking, okay, if this stuff is so good, it must be super expensive, because really high-end, good quality glass for ND filters and all of that kind of thing is really expensive. No, it's not. The price for these, there's an Indiegogo Kickstarter kind of vibe going on right now from Freewell. I've left a link in the description if you want to check out more and get these at an absolute bargain price. Moving on with ND filters, you're like, is there going to be a kind of a weird color shift? Will I have to spend forever in post-production trying to fix the color? Is there going to be vignetting, which is kind of this darken surround on the edges? Will it all be noticeable? So I think while these tests here are far from scientific, I think you get a very good idea. Is there any weird color shifts or is there any vignetting? Use your own imagination for this one, but I just think it's pretty clear. The functionality of these variable ND filters, and it's amazing that these are a world first. And for full disclosure, Freewell sent me these and said, want to try them out? Absolutely. So thanks to Freewell for sending me this, but they haven't said you got to say this, that, or the other, and they haven't given me any money or anything like this. But for me, the functionality and the ease of use of the magnetic stuff here, so you're not screwing on a filter and you're not screwing it off and you're not messing about, and you've got the variable all in a kind of a twist system for any camera bag. This is an absolute no-brainer if you're serious about leveling up your video and photography game.